Good afternoon and welcome back to our second to last week of Hospo Happy Hour, proudly brought to you by Hospo for Life and Warner's Distillery. In today's episode, we will be discussing with Darrin Brandis, it's okay not to be okay. Then for last drinks, we'll be joined by the executive chef and director of Red Lantern Restaurant and Private Dining Room, Mark Jensen, for last drinks. Let's begin the week. Today, for the first round, we have psychologist Darrin Brandis. Welcome, Darrin. How are you today, mate?
I'm well, thanks, Liam. Thanks for inviting me back on.
My pleasure, and it's the last time you'll be joining us on the show, so yeah, it's going to be a good one today. So our topic that we're going to discuss is it's okay to not be okay, and something which, you know, I've said a lot, and a lot of us have said a lot over this show, that, you know, it is okay to not feel 100%. Tell us more about this, Darrin.
Yeah, thanks, Liam. Look, it is certainly okay not to be okay. There's still a lot of stigma surrounding mental health issues in Australia and certainly globally. There's been an enormous amount of work being done in the area to demystify mental health issues, and I think that's truly amazing what's going on. But unfortunately, there's still a lot of that stigma that associated with mental illness. So that's a lot around, is it real? Does it just exist in your head? Or toughen up, you know, or in my day, we had to do this. So there's a lot of stigma associated with that. But we know, you know, several years ago, the World Health Organization predicted that depression would be the second most common disorder behind ischemic heart disease by the year 2020, by this year, in fact. Yeah. And also, you know, we know from the statistics that are collected, you know, in the public health system, you know, we have over 3,000 suicides in Australia a year. Yeah. And at any one time, 1 in 4 Australians will experience anxiety-related symptoms. And at some time in their life, you know, over almost half, 45% of Australians will experience mental health issues in their lifetime. So it's really important for people to understand that it's okay. It's always okay not to be okay. Yeah. And that life is really challenging at times. And we have been going through a really challenging time at the moment with COVID. But throughout one's life, you know, there's always what I call speed humps. I've referred to those before in the past. We've got work situations, you know, and work challenges. Being out of work is incredibly challenging for people. Relationship issues, you know, navigating your way through relationships, particularly as you're younger and haven't really got a lot of experience in those relationships, can be challenging. Yeah. Family issues, you know, there's always things going on within families. And I think with COVID and coming out of COVID, as the restrictions are slowly eased, I think there's an enormous amount of people experiencing financial stress. Yeah. And that can then sometimes lead into substance abuse, you know, a whole range of other things we've touched on, like the first topic, loneliness, bullying behaviour. So there's a whole range of challenges that we face throughout our life. And I think it's really important that we understand it's actually okay not to be okay. It's part of experiencing those emotions and recognising those feelings that we have, rather than trying to suppress them and push them down and not deal with them, or deal with them like a lot of people do in really unhealthy ways via utilising substances, whether drugs or alcohol or painkillers or, you know, risk-taking type behaviour, which really doesn't allow you to actually deal effectively with what's going on. No. So I think the thing is, it's normal to have really difficult times throughout your life. And one of the things that we urge people to do is really recognise that, okay, I'm not feeling great, I'm not feeling right, and thinking about what it is that I can do about it. Because there is a lot of people out there who are very willing to assist and to provide guidance around how to deal with these difficult times. The more we break the stigma down around mental health issues, the more we recognise in our family, in our friends, in our community, that it's okay not to be okay, and develop a caring and compassionate society, we'll live much more enriched and healthier and happier lives than going back to a long time ago where we just didn't recognise mental health issues. It was kind of not spoken about.
Yeah, no, and that's correct. And I mean, from, I know from, my career, and that starting when I was 14, and that a good, over 20 years ago now, and that it's been great to see stigma start to change, and start to lift around mental health, but the mentality for years, and I don't like to, put people in two different baskets and sort of, from a generation perspective, but it was the industry's had a very push on mentality for so long. Like, oh, push on, mate, like, have a cup of concrete, like, you'll be right. And keeping going that way. And for some people, you can kind of laugh it off. And I've seen it over the years where, someone does act that way in a kitchen, for instance, and you can see that, the other person might, laugh it off, but you can tell inside that it's still affecting them.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not right. And, no one then goes, oh, well, we need to look after them and support them on that. And that's been a massive thing in the industry for years. The last few years, things have started to lift, and there's been a hell of a lot more awareness around it. And especially with Are You OK and other groups such as those, asking if people are all right. And so things have lifted a little bit, but there is still a strong culture there. And, you said it all basically, like from my experience, for instance, being young, working full time, working long hours, 70 odd hours, relationships are the hardest. During my late teens, early 20s, like trying to hold on to, say, a girlfriend, really, really difficult. And that because they want you when you can't be. And it's really, really tough. So you go through quite a few just to, find someone that, can go along with that, or, it's from the industry and knows, the pressures already. And it's sort of, I think then, flowing into other pressures, and, our bodies don't recover either. And that, which doesn't help our minds recover. And that when it's, so constant, and that whether, you're waking up at 6 a.m. and, that 6 a.m. shift goes till 10 p.m. And, you're starting at breakfast, it's constantly busy. You don't have time to unwind, and that it just gets worse and worse and worse. Seen lots of chefs and employees over the years go through divorce, which is another tough one.
Absolutely.
Or you work on a coffee machine or in the restaurant, you've also got a lot of time to think, and a lot of just dead time where you're just, thinking inside your own mind about things, which I think gives you a lot of time to, if you're focusing on those negatives, it just gets worse and worse and worse by the day, and just doesn't get any better.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right, Lem. I think in the hospitality industry, it's a unique industry. Lots of younger people involved in the industry. When you're trying to establish those connections and networks, I think the sheer fact of the hours that you find yourselves working is incredibly difficult on the body. We're designed to go to sleep at night time, not be up till late at night time. So if you're finishing in your restaurant at midnight, you might have a quick drink with your crew, and then by the time you get home, it's 1 or 2 o'clock. You've got adrenaline pumping, and then you've got to be back up early the next day. Your sleep is profoundly impacted, and you do that over a long period of time. Like you said, the body keeps score. It kind of keeps count, and these things just can't go away. So we need to find ways of ensuring that we maintain a sense of health and well-being in whatever we do. But it's really important to take good care of yourself. And in this situation, I think, as this slide demonstrates, it's really important. If you're not feeling okay, don't feel ashamed about that. Don't feel embarrassed about that. Look up a psychologist in your local area, or go to your GP and get a referral to a psychologist, and just reach out, okay, to go and speak with someone who's trained to deal with working with people who are finding issues or finding it difficult to deal with everyday situations. And as per that quote, every great journey begins with that single step, that one single step, small step to move you in the right direction, I think is important. My second point is I would always try to engage in a psychologist, a registered psychologist, registered clinical psychologist, as they have the appropriate training to deal with the issues that you may be experiencing or finding it challenging at the moment. It's very important that people get the right advice at times when they might be struggling. It's really important that they are able to identify what is really causing the issues for them at the moment. That they can learn how to effectively problem solve. They can learn how to change the way that we talk to ourselves. That self-talk is so important. You mentioned it, like you said, you're on the coffee machine all day and you're just having this ongoing inner dialogue in your mind. That can be incredibly powerful, but it can also be incredibly destructive if you've got that negative self-talk and some of those cognitive distortions and thinking distortions that are floating around. It's really important to be able to learn how to keep things in a perspective. How do we keep what's going on in a clear perspective? We need to learn how to manage challenging and stressful situations, and even rehearse how we're going to develop those and change those ways of dealing with those particular situations. And that's where a psychologist can come in incredibly handy to work with you and help you with those strategies. And it's most important that you start to develop a toolkit that works for you. And what I mean by a toolkit is that the psychologist doesn't want to create this sense of dependence between themselves and yourself. And it's really important that as you grow, as you work through these particular issues, that you actually develop your own toolkit of things which really work for you. Now, before off camera, we were chatting a little bit about, I like to go for a run in the morning, and I like to go fishing and do certain outdoor things. You like, as you said, you enjoy flying and have those hobbies. It's really important that we build this toolkit of things that we do to help us just relieve some of that stress and strain on ourselves, so that we actually do those activities and we feel really good about that. The other things to have in your toolkit is things around assertiveness, being able to assert yourself and feel that you're not being in any way being demanded upon by others, that you actually are able to feel that you can express your feelings and your emotions effectively to those particularly loved ones and, work colleagues and those sorts of people. So it's important for you to develop this toolkit, which is your own unique toolkit, and you can really do that very, very well with a psychologist, talking through what may be troubling for you or what's going on for you, and able to understand how you may be contributing to those situations and how you can actually navigate your way through it. And I've mentioned, in previous sessions that I've done, part of life is we need to be able to learn to navigate successfully through a series of speed humps. And that's the ideal situation we want to find ourselves in terms of being resilient, in terms of being able to bounce back. Resilient people don't never experience these speed humps. In fact, they're just like the rest of us. They speed them all the time. It's what they do about that makes them resilient. And that's the ability to bounce back from that adversity. And they do that because they've developed a strong toolkit around, these are the things that I can do to help me through it. If this bad thing was to happen, what could I do about it? Would it really be as bad as I'm making out? and what are some of the skills and strengths I've got within myself that I can use or draw upon and actually to work through it. So it's really important to reach out, work with a psychologist, develop this toolkit, and never ever be embarrassed or ashamed about doing that. And you'll find that the psychologist will be incredibly supportive and help walk through you and guide you and help you develop the skills that are going to help you navigate through life.
Absolutely. And I guess as well, it sort of comes down to recognizing those warning signs as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Instead of, recognizing them and letting it go on, and that recognize it and start to do things that you need to do in order to feel better. Don't let it get to a point where you're in a serious state, but if we work on those things gradually, and that things do become a lot easier to be able to navigate our way over those speed bumps when we get to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really important point, Liam, that most of the people that I work with can reflect back and go, you know what, something happened, or I started to feel this particular way some time ago. So kind of intuitively they knew that just something's not quite right with me at the moment. I'm just not feeling the way I feel I should do. So I think it's really important to reflect upon that moment. And there's no harm in talking to someone and for them to say, look, you know what, it's pretty normal to feel that way. And that can allay a lot of concerns and fears that people have, so that they don't feel like they need to do this in silence. They don't feel like they need to do it on their own. Talking therapy works. There's lots of evidence which demonstrate it really works. And, a problem shared is a problem halved. I know it's a cliche, but it is so true that people so often come along and see us and they go, you know what, I just feel so much better. It feels like a weight has been lifted from me just to share and to let that out. It's something I've been holding on to for such a long time, and I don't feel I've had anyone to be able to talk to it about it. So it's absolutely fine at all times, always, to not feel okay.
And that weight that you talk about, when that weight's been lifted off your shoulders.
Yeah.
You feel it. You actually feel it inside. I can't express more deeply, how good it feels to not only talk to someone if you do have a problem but how much that weight can actually shift. And how much, relief that you actually gain from it.
Yeah.
And especially, professionals such as yourselves. And I'll say, as we've said through the series, if any of the viewers at home, if yourself or a friend or a colleague or a loved one needs some support, you can reach out to us at info@hospoforlife.com.au, and we can put you in touch with one of these amazing professionals, which are there to really support you and help lift those stress levels. It's so important, and that we don't just look after our physical health and or just go to the gym and go, I look after my body, and that we all have minds too, which need just as much love and care as what our bodies do.
Yeah, and I'll let you in on a little secret, Liam. They're connected. They don't work in isolation. They are intimately connected, that mind body, and I think we're discovering so much more about that at the moment. So it's really important, like you said, that people spend a lot of time on the gym and that kind of physical well-being, but I think it's really important to do activities which really nurture your psychological or your mental health. Yeah,
it certainly does. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join us for the past few weeks on the show, Darrin. We'd like to thank you for being involved with Hospo Happy Hour. It's been absolutely amazing, and we look forward to doing a lot more work with you with Hospo for Life over the years.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure, Liam, and thank you for doing what you're doing. I think it's an incredible cause, so well done to you. Thank you very much.
And likewise to yourself, Darrin.
Thanks.
Thanks very much. Howdy folks, and welcome to today's Healthy Mind segment on Hospo Happy Hour. Today I'm going to show you how to make a really simple, healthy and delicious dish. I've got a nice piece of Tasmanian salmon, which is great for brain function. It's rich in omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin B. I'll also be making a nice simple dressing to have with the fish, we've got some cashews here that are full of lots of all the good fats. We've got some lemon that's a good source of vitamin C. We've got some garlic that's great for immunity. And we've got basil, which is actually a great aid in fighting depression. I've also got some tahini. I've got some Dijon mustard. I've got a little bit of olive oil as well to go in it, and we'll throw some parsley through it. So first of all, we want to cook our fish. We can cook it skin side down. We're just going to give it a little bit of seasoning. It'll only take a few minutes each side. We'll throw a little bit of oil in our pan. We want it to sizzle. So we've got that nice and high, smoking away already. And our fish can start to cook. As I say, really quick, really simple. If you haven't got much time, you can be prepared the night before. Next, we're going to throw in some cashews, which I've had soaking for about 10 minutes in some hot water just to soften up. Got about half a cup of cashews. Got about half a cup of basil, which is going to go in there. Got a little bit of parsley here. Just going to add that in, which will give a nice freshness. I'm going to just shave some garlic in there, just a couple of cloves. I love garlic. I'd add a bit more, but we'll just stick with 2 cloves today. Our fish is cooking nicely already. I'm just going to turn that down so we don't burn the skin. Next, I want to add some lemon. Got a couple of lemons here. Just going to squeeze the juice. Couple of lemons in there. And we're going to add a little bit of olive oil. We'll throw in a teaspoon of Dijon. And I'll throw in a couple of spoons tahini. We can then give it a blitz for about 30 seconds. So our dressing is nice and a little bit chunky still. It doesn't need to be really, really thin. Our fish is nicely cooked to medium rare. So we're just going to put a nice dollop of this lovely dressing on the plate. And we've got our salmon, which has taken literally no time at all to cook. The lovely crispy skin. Just give it a little bit more salt, touch of pepper, a little bit of olive oil. And chuck some lemon on there. Delicious. And look how easy that was. Great for the body, great for the mind, nice and healthy. Took no time at all. Absolutely delicious. Enjoy. Up for last drinks today, we have very special guest Mark Jensen, Executive Chef and Director of the Red Lantern Restaurant Dining Room here in Sydney. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, Liam. Lovely to be here, man. Great to have a chat with you.
You too. So obviously since COVID's come in, it's been, very hectic, and, there hasn't been a lot that we can really do about it. Tell us some of your highlights that you've had in the restaurant over the last 12 months and how it's been affected so dramatically recently.
Yeah, well, I think you just hit it on the head there with what you just said. I mean, there is nothing we can do about it. I mean, it's just a situation that's occurred, and we just have to concentrate on the things that we can control. So I think from the get-go, we just accepted that, and there was no way we were going to let this thing beat us. So, we've maintained our positivity. Obviously, it's changed. I mean, we've been around as a restaurant for almost 20 years, and, obviously business isn't what it was. It wasn't what it was 20 years ago, but we're still sort of, going along. It's a well-oiled machine, Red Lantern. And, we were entertaining guests, obviously taking bookings for large groups, busy on Friday and Saturday nights, and still doing great trade earlier in the week. When COVID came, that was very interesting indeed. You may remember the first weeks when that initial week when the Ruby Princess was in town.
Yeah.
I remember one night distinctly where we had 60 bookings on a Tuesday night, and that was when I looked at the book on Sunday. By 2 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon, every single customer, I kid you not, every single customer had cancelled.
Yeah.
That very first week. And the ironic thing, or the crazy thing about that, is that I got in there and I thought, what do I do? Do I close the night? Do I ring everyone and say, don't come in? And I thought, well, I'll just run it on, I'll have Adam out the front. I'll be in the kitchen with one other person. And I had 25 people walk in. 25 people walk in, and we'd never worked so hard.
I bet.
In recent memory. It was a crazy night. It was a fun night, but to go from zero to almost hero, almost 50% of those people walked in, different people walked in. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, I know the feeling. We were exactly the same. It just went from, this much to nothing, and there's, it's just had to, deal with it. And that there and then, I know exactly how you feel. So what are some of the things your social media has been absolutely buzzing with, videos over the last couple of weeks. What have you implemented since?
Well, that's great. Well, see, initially when this all started to happen, I thought, what am I going to do? Because the government said, okay, maybe you can have limited capacity, 1 person per 4 square meter. So I was already thinking, well, I can do 30 customers in the main restaurant. I've got a private dining room. Maybe I can do a noodle bar during the day. And then, of course, I thought I want to do some sort of takeaway meal, but I don't want it to be my regular menu, because I don't want to put my regular menu in a box and discount it, and then it's not the same experience. So I wanted to invent a product that was true to kind of Red Lantern's ethos, prepared with all the care that we prepare every dish, but something that was inexpensive and something that was not our usual offering. So that's when I conceived the concept of the staff meal. So I basically thought of all the highlights that we've had over the years with our staff meals. And, the front of house, the back of house usually sits down in a restaurant at around 5:30 and has dinner. So we decided to put those in a box, and to manage my team and to manage their hours and so on, I thought the only way to do it is to create a heap neat product. So my team come in during the day, they work from 4 to 6 hours, they prepare the meals for that night, and then Adam and I sell it through the evening.
Yeah.
So we got that up and running, and the response was fantastic the first week, because as every restaurant has those lovely loyal customers, those raving fans, right? So our raving fans rallied together and supported us that first week. But you and I know that is totally awesome, but that's not how you build a business long term. You need to generate new business. You constantly got to grow. So the first couple of weeks, I remember sitting down with Adam at 7 o'clock watching the ABC News in the main dining room on our iPhone, thinking this is just nuts. Like that, this on a Thursday night would normally be busy, and here we are watching the ABC News. So then we got to thinking, you know what? The only way we're growing this business is through our social media. So what can we do to expand that reach? And like I said previously, like we've maintained positivity because we accepted early on that this is beyond our control. So we've just been having fun. We've been not making light of a serious situation because it's deadly serious. We accept that. But we were going to stay positive. So, we started thinking about a video series and we had we wanted to make it cheap and cheesy. And I think we achieved that initially. And we introduced a character, Keith. Keith is a mannequin that's been outside our restaurant since day one. And so the focus of the story became about Keith. What Keith's up to, what he's contributing, how he's standing strong in front of the restaurant, sort of, spruiking out our wares. And then we decided, initially it was just a pickup only, and then we wanted to deliver. And our delivery model is much the same as like a pre-packaged sort of thing where the meals are prepared in a box and they can be delivered. So we have a delivery time between 5 and 7:30. And then we created Adam Delivers. So if anyone has seen the Adam Delivers videos that we've created, the content around Adam Delivers, he is such an exceptional man and such a funny character in himself that we've really expanded from, the delivery man model to some really outrageous clips, which I know you've seen.
I've been absolutely cracking myself laughing over it. It's been really cool. Like, it's different. You don't expect it. And then all of a sudden, here it is, Adam Delivers. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, last week's installment was Adam delivering pretty, semi-naked on a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. This week, we're like tonight, look at our socials tonight because there's a bit of a teaser for this week's video content. And I must say, this week's content is well and truly OTT. Like, I can't, every time I watch these things, I just crack up. And that's what I mean. We're having fun with it. Yeah. We don't know what's going to happen. It's that classic, how do you keep your mind strong?
Yeah.
Like, you can't live in the past and you can't live in the future. You can only live in the now.
Yeah.
And then keeping your mind strong is controlling the things that you have control of and releasing yourself from the burden of things that you don't have control of.
That's right.
That's when the worry and anxiety and the pressure sort of really becomes inwards and gets you down.
And we've really been highlighting that on the show for the last 3 weeks, and that how important it is to think that way. And because it makes life so much easier, especially in a time of doubt and crisis as well. Yeah.
So true. It's like, we haven't closed our doors. I'm really proud of saying that. Like, we have not shut our doors other than Monday, which is our traditional rest day.
Yeah.
And it's been really interesting because we've almost been the only kid on the block. And after about 3 weeks, we noticed people in isolation, when they'd come and do their afternoon, like the street was dead for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Literally very little foot traffic, very little traffic at all. But then in about week 3, people started to come outdoors for their exercise hour or whatever that was. And we became a bit of a stop-in place, not necessarily for people to actually buy anything, but people knew that Adam and I and Keith were in the restaurant. So they'd stop and, have a little bit of a chat. We had people that I think were so isolated and alone that they were just happy to talk to us. It was a little moment in their day that they could have some human interaction. So it was fun, and we've met lots of interesting local characters throughout this experience.
Oh, I bet, especially down where you guys are.
Yeah,
down on Crown Street and that.
Yeah,
I bet there would have been a lot.
Oh, it's been crazy down our end, and in Darlinghurst there.
No, it's fantastic. So, as we always do when we finish off, and that we like to ask, what positivity, what message can we give to our industry, and that going forward, and that to start planning ahead and thinking forward for the future now, and that what advice can you give our viewers, Mark?
Well, I've been thinking about this a lot because I think it's generally accepted that the whole ecosystem of hospitality was broken before going into this COVID-19 crisis. Many restaurants have closed, and many of those restaurants will not reopen. So I think this is a golden opportunity for us to actually consider what we need for our individual businesses to succeed. And I made an Instagram post last night about how, especially when it comes to pricing in restaurants, I mean, some people get it right. I mean, I've always charged, like I'm at the upper end. I mean, I'm not particularly inaccessible, high-end, fine dining, but I charge, you know, I'm up there in the middle bracket, and I charge what I think I need to charge to keep the doors open. Yeah. I think the problem on the other side of this, if restaurateurs restaurants start competing on price, that dreaded race to the bottom to try and get customers, not only are you've boarded the ticket to your own demise, you are again training the customers to seek bargains and to seek unrealistic deals. And again, you're reinforcing the fact that they already want the cheapest thing. Yeah. And the cheapest, what's right for the customer being the cheapest, is not necessarily right for the establishment. And that's possibly why the turnover of restaurants in New South Wales or possibly Australia is about every 2.5 years. You know, if you survive longer than 2.5 years, you're in a very small percentage of restaurants.
I'm lucky I got to year 6.
Well, there you go. That's what I'm thinking. That's insane, right? That's insane. But we've got so many obstacles. And I think unless we actually take this opportunity to stand strong and actually use it this time to refocus, actually focus on the numbers on your balance sheet. Many people don't. Yeah. So it's a time to take pause. We've got time. Yeah. Pause and look at those numbers. You know, pause and look at what you really truly need to charge to be successful going forward. Otherwise, you'll become a bitter statistic. And I say this fully aware of the fact that I can't foresee my future either. Yeah. I'm in there fighting. I'm in there swinging, man. But I can't guarantee that, you know, my future is secure. Yeah. I do not know. No one knows.
Yeah. No, we've just got to do the best that we can, and things that have worked for us as well, and that keep doing those, and you know, getting better and better at them. Like you guys at Red Lantern do an amazing job for a price point, and from the service to the food that you guys actually deliver is so on point. And that's so yeah. Thanks heaps for joining us on the show today, Mark, and everybody out there. If you get a chance, get on down to Red Lantern and support the guys here in Sydney. Enjoy and have a great day, Mark.
Thank you, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. All the best to you.
You too, mate. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Well, that's all we have time for on today's show. You can catch us back here on Wednesday at 5 p.m. We have another great show lined up for you all, and we'll be chatting for last drinks with chef and restaurateur Damien Heads. Big thanks to our partners Warner's Gin and Altius Group for supporting the show. Stay strong and stay united in spirit to create a positive change for a healthier industry. I'm Chef Liam Crawley. Have a great evening.